Math, Lesson 85. You will need your workbook, textbook, paper, and pencil. All right, so I would like to start things off today with mixed number operations. So using addition and subtraction. So let me rewrite this up here. Mixed number operations. I'm going to add and subtract. So this is whole numbers with fractions. What we're going to do is we're going to do a couple practice problems. First one, 3 4/5 plus 5 1/5. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, the denominator has to stay the same. In this case, the denominator for both fractions is 5. So we know that will remain the same. Next up, let's add the numerator of our fractions. What's 4 plus 1? 5. Now moving on, we have 5 plus 3 is 8. Notice we have a whole fraction, 5 over 5. And what does that equal? 1. So I can cross that out and say this is going to be plus 1 now, giving me the answer 9. All right, next up. I would like you to do this one on your own. Five 3/12 plus 2 9/12. Pause the video now and do this one on your own. All right, so let's solve this. Our denominator will stay the same because it is 12. 9 plus 3 is 12. Whole fraction, we know that this is going to equal 1. And 5 plus 2 is 7. My new equation, 7 and 2 plus 1 equals 8. That was actually from part 1 in lesson 85, problem A. Next up, you have B, C, and D to do. So pause the video now and work on those problems. All right, let's solve them. B, 6 6/10 plus 13 5/10. I know my denominator is going to stay the same as at 10. 6 plus 5 is 11. And 6 plus 13 is 19. Here I have a top-heavy fraction, so I know in here 11 minus 10 is 1. So I have 1 left over. Plus 19 equals 20 1/10. Problem C. 22 7/8 plus 1 6/8. I know my denominator will stay the same. 7 plus 6 is 13. 13 minus 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I know my leftover is going to be 5/8 and 1 whole. 22 plus 1 is 23. Add 23 plus 1 is 24 with my leftover fraction of 5/8. And problem D. 18 5/6 plus 10 1/6. I know 5 plus 1 is 6. Denominator is going to stay the same. Look at there, whole number. I know that equals 1. 18 plus 10 is 28. So now I have 28 plus 1, giving me 29. There's part 1 in lesson 85. All right, let's move on to exponents division by base 10. So, find part 1 in your textbook. In there, you have 5 problems. Problem 1 is 119 and 800ths divided by 10 to the second power. 119 and 800ths divided by 10 to the second power. Remember, when you're doing this, you're moving the decimal to the left. So, how many places do I need to move it? Well, what's my exponent tell me? 2 places. This moves 2 places. 1 and 2. There's my new number. So this gives me the answer. That. So I would like you to pause the video now and do B, C, D, and E on your own. Continue the video when you're ready to check your answer. $382 over 10 to the third. We know that this means my decimal's right here. So I need to move it 3 places, giving me 1, 2, 3. Is decimal 382. All right. Now, the answers to C, D, and E are they're your answers for C, D, and E. Now we are going to move into expressions using evaluations. Expressions. So, here's an equation. Here's a problem with a letter. Read the problem. 4 times the quantity 5 plus B plus 6. So, I know in the box, or up above, we have B equals 9. So I know I can replace B with 9. So I'm going to rewrite my problem. 4 times the quantity 5 plus 9 plus 6. It's just like what we were doing before, except we're plugging in a letter and then giving you the value of that letter. So we have our new problem. And we know that our new equation is 4 times the quantity 5 plus 9 plus 6. What's 5 plus 9? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 4 times the quantity of 14 plus 6. So I know I have 4 times the quantity of 20. And what is the answer of 4 times 20? 80. Make sure you're boxing in your answer so it's easy for me to see that when you're turning it in, because I'm going to be checking what you're grading. All right, so I would like you to find part 2 in your textbook. We're going to do the first one together and the second one together. I'm going to have you do C and D on your own. Again, this is going to be part 2 in your textbook. So I'm going to write on the board the new equation. problem A. Problem A is 5 times the quantity 4 plus 2 minus r. And what does r equal? 1. So, I'm going to rewrite my equation by plugging in the value of the letter. 5 times the quantity of 4 plus 2 minus 1. Rewriting it again, working out the problem. What's 4 plus 2? 6. Minus 1. Still haven't put that in. What is 6 minus 1? 5. So I have 5 times the quantity of 5, giving me the answer 25. And I'm boxing in my answer. So, next one. Problem B. Two times the quantity 3/12 plus n. Tricky, we're throwing in fractions on you already. But what does it tell us? N equals 4/12. So let's plug it in. So I have 2 times the quantity of 3/12 plus 4/12. Pretty simple right now because my denominator of my fractions are still the same, so I can add my fractions together easily. I know it's going to be 2 times the quantity of 7/12. And what I can do now is, because I'm going to be, I know that this would be over 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink my numbers. 12 and 2. I can divide both those numbers by 2. So what I'm going to do, I'll do this in a different color. I know I can diagonally divide these to reduce my fractions. What's 12 divided by 2 and 2 divided by 2? Well, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I have my new fraction, 1 over 1, meaning 1. So this whole thing can now be crossed out and be 1 times 7/6. And what is 1 times 7/6? Well, that equals 7/6. However, I'm not done because it's a top-heavy fraction. I know 7 minus 6 equals 1. That's my leftover, and what do I have a whole number of? 6 over 6, or 1. So my answer is 1 and 1/6. All right, I would like you to do C and D on your own. I'll be checking that in your independent work when you turn it in. Make sure you box in your answers so I can see what you got to make sure you're solving this correctly. If you're having any troubles, make sure you're rewatching these videos. Pause the video now and do C and D on your own. All right. Let's move on to fraction word problems using division. Fraction word problems. Let's say using division. All right. Give me a second to write this on the board so you can follow along. Red and blue. Nancy, I'm going to write it up here actually. Nancy has 3 pounds of peanuts. Let's hope she's not allergic to them. She divides the peanuts into servings that are 1/2 pound each. How many servings did she make? There's our question. So, let me reread this for you. Nancy has 3 pounds of peanuts. She divides the peanuts into servings that are 1/2 pound each. How many servings does she make? The problem tells how many pounds she starts with and the fraction you divide by. How many pounds she starts with? 3 pounds. And what fraction am I dividing by? 1/2. So, my equation would be 3 divided by 1/2. Copy the problem and work it in part A. Write the number and the unit name in the answer. So I would like you to solve this now. Pause the video, solve it, and continue to check your answer. So I know to do this, I just turn this into its reciprocal, times 2/1. And that going straight across, because I know this would be over 1, equals 6/1. Also equaling just plain old 6. 6 what? 6 servings. Because that's what it asked us. How many servings? So with 3 pounds, you could divide them into 6 half-pound servings. Full answer right there. All right. Let me find my eraser that I dropped. And let's work on the next problem. A pile of gravel weighs 3/4 ton. A builder wants to divide the gravel into piles that are 1/8 ton each. How many of these piles will he be able to make? So, a pile of gravel weighs 3/4 ton. A builder wants to divide the gravel into piles that are 1/8 ton each. How many piles can he make? So, the problem. How many, so one of our questions is how much gravel does the builder start with? Well, starting with 3/4 tons. And then, what are we dividing by? Well, what's it tell us? How many in each pile? 1/8 divided by 1/8. So, work the problem and figure out how many piles he'll be able to make. Remember, you need to simplify this. So, pause the video now. All right, let's check your answer. So, we know that this can be rewritten as the reciprocal. So, times it by 8/1. So I have 24/4. And what is 24 divided by 4? 6. 6 what? 6 piles. Just like so, that is how we solved it, using 2 fractions this time. So remember, when you have 2 fractions next to each other and you're dividing, you only need to swap this one for its reciprocal. Not both, just this one. Because otherwise it'd be the same equation if you just swapped everything. All right. Let's do one more. A baker has 6 pounds of flour. Quick spelling lesson. That's how you spell flour that you bake with, not the actual plant. So, she wants to make cakes. Each cake uses 3/4 of a pound of flour. How many cakes will she be able to make with 6 pounds? How many cakes can she make? Pause the video now. Try and solve it on your own. All right, let's check our work. So you worked the problem 6 divided by 3/4. 6 divided by 3/4. So this also would be, to work it, you got to do 6 times 4/3. Remember, this is over 1. So we have 24/3. And what's 24 divided by 3? 8 cakes. So, that is the first part of lesson 85. Please continue to part 2 of this section for lesson 85. See you in a bit.